Wednesday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show on this 22nd day of September 2021. Up first, no watches, warnings, or advisories out. Anything that was out is now down, and nothing out for tonight and probably tomorrow as well, the way it looks right now. And that includes the central and northern interior to the Arctic coast, northern Bering Sea, southern Bering Sea, and the Aleutians, all looking good as far as public watches, advisories, and warnings go. Have a cool morning here in areas, especially south central Alaska, down to 19 degrees for a low at both Soldotna and Wasilla. And then off to the east-northeast of, or up the Glen Highway there, Eureka, 17 degrees for a low. And northeastern Copper River Basin there in the Besna, 15 for a low. Cold spot though, Cold Foot and Arctic Village, both falling to 9 degrees above zero. And all these low temperatures took place right at the end of summer because fall started today at 11:20 a.m., the autumnal equinox for the northern hemisphere. And of course, day lengths equal all across the planet now on this day. And so those low temperatures we just saw all occurred actually during the end of summer. And on the satellite imagery, you can see clouds kind of lingering, but slowly trying to move out of the area there for the eastern interior, with some scattered light snow showers ending, say, Northway and Tok in those areas, and all that moisture east of Fairbanks. A little bit of lingering snow shower activity, but nothing significant occurring up over the northeast interior. Also, showers ending there for the Panhandle as upper disturbance kicks off to the east, and tapering off. Rainfall amounts, other than Gustavus, who reported 42 of an inch in the last 12 hours, much lighter amounts occurred. For example, Juneau seen some light rain showers this afternoon, only 5/100 of an inch. Sitka and Metlakatla both picking up about 3/100 of an inch. So kind of a break before the next onslaught of heavy rain that you can see in the cloud mass off to the southwest there. As that moves in on pretty good wind flow aloft out of the southwest. Of course, it's a wet weather pattern for the southeast coast as well as the North Gulf Coast, and even into the southeast interior. And but today you can see clouds along the Arctic coast, kind of breezy at times there, but any snowfall was very light up in that area. Although Coldfoot did pick up an inch of snow there, actually back more in toward their northeast of Fairbanks. Earlier today they picked up about an inch of snow actually, and Buckland had 5/100 of an inch of liquid water precipitation. Otherwise, amounts are quite light. Let's see, ranging 1,500, the exception being 1,500 at Antioch, but all that's tapering off, kind of persisting into the afternoon. Bethel seeing some light rain showers there and into northern Bristol Bay. They're kind of an upper level low there, keeping it cloudy and wet, low snowfall levels, but most areas at sea level or below 500 or even 1,000 feet were either mixed with rain or just plain rain. Not too bad out over the Bering Sea. Next system, clouds coming out of the Russian Far East there. And rolling this through again, you can see starting to spill in and southeastward there into the western northwest Bering Sea, but not too bad for the eastern Aleutians Alaska Peninsula. Next system here, as you can see on the chart, down south of Kodiak Island, with the showers ending over the Panhandle. Again, already we're seeing clouds, high cirrus, the cirrus shield already arriving on the south coast of the Panhandle. And you can see the clearing that occurred early on, northern Cook Inlet, but clouds spreading in this afternoon. That disturbance out to the west, and then light snow shower activity eastern interior, some pretty good clearing central interior, up to the Kobuk Koyukuk Valley, out to the northwest coast. Flurries along the Arctic coast at times, scattered showers western Aleutians. Tonight that system pulls northeastward there, just east-southeast of Kodiak by around 3 a.m. on Thursday morning. So look for good rain and wind to move into that area, probably during the evening hours tonight, and later tonight after midnight toward morning for the North Gulf Coast, and even to a greater extent for the coastal areas of the Panhandle, with gale force winds on the increase for tomorrow, with rain picking up. Otherwise, central interior tonight not looking bad. Mostly clear skies, light winds, or areas of clear skies, lingering snow showers western Alaska range, and then moisture starting to increase from the North Gulf Coast. That's going to be late tonight, possibly in the Turnagain Arm, Matanuska Valley. Copper River Basin basically looking at a dry night. Light winds, eastern Bering Sea, weak high pressure there west of the Pribilofs, weak trough with some light shower activity for the western Aleutians to about Adak. And looking at tomorrow's forecast, big storm just south of Resurrection Bay and moderate amounts of rain. Rain moderate to heavy at times North Gulf Coast. Let's call it heavy rain at times for the southeast coast. Heaviest on the central southern panhandle there. But it's going to be a wet day and windy day with 40 to 45 knot winds in the marine areas along the southeast coast. Storm warnings in the forecast. Sustained east 50 knots for the North Gulf Coast, and also strong winds, gale warnings for Kamishak Bay, Southern Cook Inlet, and Kodiak Island. Otherwise, clearing out as you get west of the Alaska Range there. Decreasing clouds, Kuskokwim Valley with mostly clear skies. Bristol Bay on up into the northwest interior and northern upper Yukon Valley. North of the Brooks Range, still some clouds and flurries, especially along the Arctic coast. Scattered showers out over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. Friday's outlook, system moves inland. Southwest flow continues. Wet weather pattern again for the eastern North Gulf Coast. All of the panhandle, but rainfall amounts will be lighter, winds will be diminishing. Low pressure kind of stalling out there. Western Prince William Sound, look for mixture precipitation all the way down to sea level. Cook Inlet and the Kenai Peninsula, Chugach Mountains up in the Matanuska Valley. Eastern interior, warmer push air, so mixture of rain or snow depending on your time of day and elevation up that way. But looks like light snow possibly into the central interior, but dry and mostly clear, cooler temperatures. But nice afternoon readings there for the western interior. And then out toward the coast, clouds increase. Chance of light rain, Nome to St. Lawrence Island. Also the Pribilofs with a couple of weak troughs there, but not too bad considering for the Aleutians. Just maybe some scattered showers around. Winds on the light side into the Alaska Peninsula. And lows tonight, 40s for the Panhandle. Lower to mid-20s, Copper River Basin, mid to upper 20s, Kuskokwim Valley, otherwise in the 30s, south central Alaska, and near 40 for the Kenai Peninsula coast, mid-40s, Kodiak Island. And highs tomorrow, 50 to 55 along the coastal areas, Kodiak into the Panhandle, otherwise mid to upper 40s, south central Alaska, near 40, Copper River Basin, upper 30s, lower 40s, Kuskokwim Valley, 40 to 45 for Bristol Bay, and followed by lows. Friday morning, falling into the upper 20s, Copper River Basin near freezing Susitna Valley, otherwise 35 to 40 for the Matanuska Valley, Kenai Peninsula, North Gulf Coast, back into the 20s for the Kuskokwim Valley, 20s, lower 30s, Bristol Bay, upper 30s, Kodiak Island, in the 40s for the Panhandle, except Prince of Wales Island, Craig, Kawak, maybe lows staying in the lower 50s, followed by highs maybe into the lower 60s there for the Prince of Wales Island area with that southwest flow. Warmer temperatures there, but in the 40s, south central Alaska, upper 30s to near 40 west of the Alaska Range, lower to mid 40s for Bristol Bay. Up to the north, single numbers, North Slope and the Brooks Range area with the clear skies there. Clouds really, or temperatures depend on the clouds and breezy conditions there, but most everywhere below freezing. Highs tomorrow, 20s to 30s to lower 40s in the Tanana Valley, and followed by lows in the teens to 20s to near 30 around Fairbanks, followed by highs in the mid to upper 30s central interior, and upper 20s, lower 30s for the Arctic coast near 40 St. Lawrence Island. Out to the southwest, lows in the 40s, Bering Sea tonight, 30s along the southwest coast, highs tomorrow, mid to upper 40s, not a lot of diurnal change out there, back into the lower 40s for Friday morning, and then Friday afternoon, highs 45 to 50, Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, and southwest coast, mid-40s.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Marginal VFR for the central and eastern Arctic coast, even some VFR possibly start the day out there toward Barter Island, Kaktovik. Otherwise, areas of IFR there, eastern Brooks Range on down toward Eagle, and a little to the south, say to about Chicken, but pretty much VFR, central interior out to the west, northern Norton Sound, southern Seward Peninsula, some VFR also for the western Alaska Peninsula, Fox Islands. Marginal VFR, Bering Sea from the St. Lawrence Island area and the Strait all the way down into the Aleutians. Some IFR with the next system spreading into the far western Aleutians, and mostly IFR on the increase for the Panhandle, IFR east side of Kodiak Island. And then for the afternoon, we've got, for Thursday afternoon, we've got marginal VFR, Arctic Coast North Slope into the mostly eastern Brooks Range. South of the mountains, though, VFR all along the Yukon and Kuskokwim River valleys, Tanana River looking good. IFR and marginal VFR in the increase from the south and southeast, spreading north and northwest there into the southeast interior. And North Gulf Coast IFR, solid IFR for the entire North Gulf Coast and the Panhandle. VFR, Kodiak Island, Cook Inlet, western Kenai Peninsula, all the way out to the west coast. Some marginal VFR, Nunivak Island there, and the Yukon Delta coast. Marginal VFR, most of the Bering Sea. IFR slowly increasing over the western Aleutians. And for the morning Friday, that zone IFR out of the Aleutians spreads eastward and stays along or south of the islands there, leaving the Bering Sea in a kind of a widespread area of marginal VFR. Alaska Peninsula included, northward through the Bering Strait, part of the Seward Peninsula, North Slope, Arctic Coast, marginal VFR, some IFR on the east side, south of the mountains again, mostly VFR on down the Yukon River Valley until you get out to the Delta, and then kind of hit and miss IFR, mostly missed there for the southwest interior, mainly over the mountainous terrain, western Alaska Range, Auckland, Kilbrook Mountains, and IFR pretty well locked in over the southeast interior there, and becoming marginal VFR, central coast of the Panhandle, and eventually for the North Gulf Coast. And for the afternoon Friday, IFR still over the Copper River Basin and the Coast Range into the northern Panhandle, but slowly improving. You see some VFR showing up over the central and southern Panhandle areas. So slow improvement even on the east side, but holding marginal throughout into the afternoon for the eastern interior. IFR, eastern Alaska Range, maybe the eastern North Slope, but better out to the west. IFR, St. Lawrence Island. Marginal VFR over most of the Bering Sea, but improving there over the western areas and southwest Bering to VFR. IFR, north side of Adak and Atka, and some IFR there for Unalaska Island. And for the passes, Anatuvik, marginal VFR, turning toward VFR into the afternoon, and improving also for Adigan, but not quite as much. IFR to marginal VFR, a little more moisture over toward that pass. Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR tomorrow. Windy, or rainy and windy, both VFR. And moving over to Isabel, VFR, and then moisture coming in from the east-southeast or southeast there, becoming marginal VFR in the afternoon. Mentasta, marginal to IFR in the afternoon. And Tanita, VFR, marginal VFR coming in from the east and southeast throughout the day. And Portage, marginal VFR to IFR, especially on the eastern entrance. And Chilkoot and White, IFR. Freezing levels at the surface all the way down to the Alaska Range into the central Copper River Basin. And inland along the west coast there, 2,000 feet all the way down to the Alaska Peninsula, 4,000 central Aleutians, and 2,000 to 6,000 feet across the Gulf of Alaska and southeast coast. Icing, moisture coming in, a good shot of moisture coming in. One heavy batch moving into the southern Panhandle for considerable moderate rime icing. North Gulf Coast, say from near Elfin Cove, all the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, southern Kenai Peninsula, looking at considerable moderate icing, and increasing icing also for the Copper River Basin, maybe into the Cook Inlet area as well. But it looks like mostly off along the North Gulf Coast there. Icing free over the remainder of the interior, and most of the Bering Sea and Aleutians, icing free as well. Jet stream, good southwest flow, 140 knots, northern Panhandle. That's definitely a wet weather pattern for them. And upper level trough, western interior, upper level low tracking northeastward, and then stalling out or slowing down there late tomorrow afternoon, somewhere around Fognak Island. And 9,000 to 3,000, jumping to turbulence, moderate chop, North Gulf Coast and all the southeast coast, smooth to the north and to the northwest.
Welcome back to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm Dave Snyder, and joining me today is Cindy Preller. She's the Tsunami Program Manager for Alaska Region's National Weather Service. And Cindy, we hear a lot about tsunamis in the news, probably a lot more than we used to, but let's remind everybody, what is a tsunami?
Thanks for having me, Dave.
Sure.
Tsunami is basically, it's really simple. It's just a disturbance in the water column. So the entire water column from the seafloor to the sea surface is disturbed by something major, usually a major earthquake. But it can also be a volcanic eruption, even an asteroid. Landslide is especially dangerous.
Okay, so if I'm sitting in my bathtub and I drop a bath toy, that could be a bathtub tsunami.
It is absolutely a bathtub tsunami.
Okay, very good. So Alaska is one of the states, or maybe the state, with the greatest amount of coastline. So tsunamis are a pretty major risk here in Alaska. Who is most at risk?
Yeah, Alaska is significant. We actually make most of the Pacific's tsunamis on the Aleutian Trench. And it's where the Pacific Plate is subducting underneath the American Plate. And we produce some very large, great quakes. And of course, the most at risk is the Aleutian Trench.
Okay.
But that extends into south central Alaska as well. They're at huge risk. And then southeast Alaska's risk is really mostly landslide focused.
Okay. Are there any places along the Alaskan coastline that don't have a tsunami risk, or at least a very, very low risk?
Absolutely. The Bering Sea's risk is very low, and the Arctic's risk is very low as well.
Okay, so when we're talking about tsunami dangers, those are places that need to be monitored, but probably not really.
No, I mean, I won't say never.
Yeah, sure.
Because I know better.
Science knows better.
Right. So,
very good.
Near to never.
Okay. Well, let's just say you're on the coast, anywhere in Alaska. What are warning signs that tsunami dangers are threatening you right now?
This is super important because Alaska's greatest risk, especially out on the Aleutians and South Central, is a near-field tsunami, and then of course landslides in southeast. It's even more intense because we can't.
Shorter warning time.
No warning time.
Okay.
The earthquake is the warning.
Okay.
And that is the most important thing for anybody to remember. The water can arrive in less than 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Wow.
Yeah, at the National Tsunami Warning Center in Palmer, we need to get the warning out in 5 minutes. So for those near-field tsunamis, it's the earthquake is the warning. So if you feel shaking, and of course the first thing you do is drop, cover, and hold, and you need to start counting slowly to 20.
The right way. How do you do that?
Oh, I teach kids to do it with their favorite things. So 1 chocolate, 2 chocolate, 3 chocolate, but you can count anything you like. And if you're thinking of something happy, that helps. Especially helps kids, but it'll help your psyche.
So you don't speed up because you're getting stressed out.
Right. It actually lowers your heart rate.
Interesting.
You know, so if you think of something you love and practice that. So you're in an earthquake, you're under the table, you're next to the ocean. Right. This is important if you're next to the ocean. If you're not next to the ocean, don't worry about it. Just stay in place under cover.
And you're talking about a mile, a quarter mile? What's close?
A mile, even a couple miles. You know, our rule of thumb used to be a mile inland was safe, but the last few tsunamis have taught us otherwise. So, yeah, you know, in Japan we had an inundation up to 10 miles. So.
And that was a big quake.
That was a big quake.
So you have a quake, you're counting slowly to 20.
To 20.
What's next?
And if you get to 20 and it's still shaking, you need to evacuate.
Okay.
And that is, that's scary.
Yeah.
Because you're evacuating in a live event that's still shaking. You know, 1964 shook for 4.5 minutes. Indonesia shook for 12 minutes.
Wow. Right.
Japan, I think, shook for 6. I'm not sure of that, but it was long. Anyway, more than 20 seconds.
And that's a sign of a very major earthquake, the worst.
Well, 20 seconds is a magnitude 7, so that's not the worst. But what a magnitude 7 can do is trigger a landslide. And those landslides might be a submarine landslide, so you won't see it, you won't hear it, you won't know it, and then the water's moving. So that's really, really, really dangerous. That's what happened in '64 first. Seward, Valdez, Whittier all had landslides first.
And when you're talking about the water is a warning sign too. What happens with the water that gives you a very easy visual sign that something's changing?
Not guaranteed. It might go out. It might go way out really fast enough to leave the fish behind. But that's not guaranteed. It might just be a fast flood instead. So either way, if it's acting like a super fast rising tide, faster than a tide should rise, get out of there. And if it goes out really fast, get out of there.
Yeah.
You know, we lost a lot of lives because people will go check out the new tide pools or
Sure.
pick up fish or shells or, you know, so, and it should feel weird.
Right.
You know, it should be weird.
So pay attention to those natural warning signs and how you feel, because those are maybe the only clues you have.
Right, and you know, sound also. You can hear a tsunami. It'll sound like a roaring train, maybe.
Okay.
Or it might sound silent because the water's been pulled out.
Right.
And that's pretty weird. Imagine camping
Yeah.
at night
Yeah.
near the beach, and all of a sudden you don't hear the ocean anymore.
That would be different.
That would be weird. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you also might hear blowing bubbles, and that's actually from the pressure that's blowing the air out from the sand grains, rock grains.
Interesting.
So if you hear blowing bubbles, that's a little weird.
Okay.
Or clinking rocks, you know, like a rain stick. So those are the sound signs. So the visual is rushing in or rushing out, and roaring especially.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of work to get people and keep people aware of what the tsunami warning signs are and what their risks are around Alaska. And there's a website that can help them do that. Where can they go online to get more information for their school, their home, their church, their business?
Oh, there's several. The National Tsunami Warning Center has a website as well, and the easiest way to look that up is just NTWC.
NTWC.
The URL is not intuitive at all.
Okay.
There's also ready.alaska.gov. The state of Alaska has a lot of helpful stuff. Preparedness kits. They have everything you need to get ready.
Okay.
And then for teachers and others, there's a wonderful curriculum called Alaska Tsunami Education Program.
Alaska Tsunami Education Program. Okay.
And that's AKwx.
AKwx. Okay, very good. Those are really good tips to get more information and search that out and help your own community stay safe with the threat of tsunamis around Alaska. Next time we come back and talk to you some more about the Tsunami Ready program and get more in depth and how people can learn more about the risks and what to do here in Alaska. So thank you for joining us today, Cindy. And next time on Alaska Weather Facts, more on tsunamis around Alaska. We'll see you next time.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Today's sea ice analysis, not a lot of change. Actually, there is new ice now forming, but in the main ice pack there, especially along the edges of the white shaded area there. And of course, that's probably going to continue now that we are getting close to the minimum sea ice extent. But as far as the ice edge position, really not much change is expected over the next several days. Is kind of filling in, and that's about the only change. So nothing arriving on the coast. Moving on to the coastal water forecasts there for the southeast coast. Full gales tomorrow. South winds 40 to 45 knots on the south coast, and southeast 40 to 45 on the north coast. Seas running 17 to 21 feet. And storm warnings, eastern North Gulf Coast, east 50 knots, seas 22 feet. And small craft advisory, central and northern inside waters of the Panhandle, 25 to 30 knot winds with higher gusts there. Clarence Strait, gale warnings, south winds increasing to 35 knots, seas building to 13 feet. And for the outlook on Friday, we've got lighter winds and west-southwest 20 to 25 knots on the south coast, south to southwest 30 knots, still pretty brisk there on the north coast, seas just under 20 feet. South 30 knots, Lynn Canal. Small craft advisories also for Stevens Passage, south 25, and 15 knot winds out of the south for Clarence Strait. And for moving over to the, well, I'll start with Prince William Sound. Northeast winds up to 30 knots, probably higher gusts as well, with seas at building 7 feet. Storm warnings, North Gulf Coast, east-northeasterlies 50 knots, seas around 16 feet or so. Northeast 45 for the Barren Islands. Gale warnings, Southern Cook Inlet, north winds 35 knots, 13-foot seas. Gale warnings, Kamishak Bay, north winds at 40. And small craft advisories, north of the Forelands, winds north 25 knots. Those will come down considerably for Cook Inlet on Friday, north to northwest 10 to 15 knots, seas subsiding to 3 to 5 feet, but full gale still for Kamishak Bay, northwest 45 knots, 12-foot seas, west 40 for the Barren Islands with 15-foot seas, and west-southwest 30 knots for the North Gulf Coast, and Prince William Sound, northwest at 20. Kodiak Island, north to northwest 40 to 45 knots, seas 12 to 16 feet. Small craft advisory, Sitkinak to Cape Sarachev for north to northwest winds at 30 knots. North winds 30 knots, Bering Sea side of the Alaska Peninsula. Small craft advisories, Bristol Bay, northwest at 25. And that holds through Friday for Bristol Bay. Northwest winds 25 knots. Lighter winds for the Alaska Peninsula, 15 knots out of the north there on the Bering Sea side. Pacific side, southwest 20. And gale warnings, eastern Kodiak Island for west winds at 35 knots with seas around 13 feet. On Alaska Island tomorrow, small craft advisories, northerlies 25 to 30 knots. Otherwise, lighter, more variable winds for Unmak Island at 15 knots, coming down to 15 knots. Southwest 15 knots. Atka, Adak, Amchitka Island, Kiska, Shimei, and Attu. All southwest at 15 tomorrow, seas running 6 to 8 feet. And for Friday, northwest 15 from Shimei to Kiska, pick it up to 20 knots, Amchitka Island. West winds 20 knots, Adak and Atka. And variable winds 15 knots are on Alaska Island. Unmak Island looking at west and northwest 20 to 25 knots. Southwest coast, south of Nunavak Island, northwesterlies 30 knots, 8-foot seas. Pribilofs north at 15. Southwest 20 for St. Matthew Island. St. Lawrence Island north at 15. And for Friday, south winds 25 knots there for St. Lawrence Island. Good for small craft advisories. Small craft advisories also for St. Matthew Island, northern Bering Sea, northwest at 25. South 15 for the Pribilofs, and variable at 15 for the southwest coast. Arctic coast, winds light 10 knots, west-southwest, basically west for the central and east side. Northeast 10 for the west side, and north 10 from Cape Thompson to Wales. And pick it up to 15 knots, Wales to Cape Thompson on Friday with pretty light variable winds for the central and western coast, but eastern Beaufort Sea coast east of 15. For tonight, look for fog and flurries at times along the Arctic coast there. Nothing significant in the way of any snowfall accumulation. Light snow showers continue Kuskokwim Valley into the western Alaska Range, but big wind and rain on the increase. Kodiak Island this evening, North Gulf Coast after midnight. Same thing for the Panhandle. Good solid rain late tonight through tomorrow for all of the southeast coast. Heavy at times into Prince William Sound. Kenai Peninsula, strong winds developing through the passes of the western Alaska Range and Kodiak Island, but lighter winds up to the north. And the next day, wet weather pattern continues for the North Gulf Coast and Panhandle. Mixture of rain or snow eastern interior, mostly clear and dry with light winds on the west side.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.